In a recent CBS News poll, 2 out of 3 Americans told us they're stressed about their own finances.
On the CBS Money Watch, the U.S. economy has a case of foodflation.
The majority of Americans don't make enough money to cover some of the basic costs of living, like healthcare and rent.
Look at this map. Each red zone represents areas where families are losing electricity, water, and gas at rates we haven't seen since the Great Depression. Now, watch as I show you something even more disturbing. These darker areas, those are tent cities, encampments of working Americans who have jobs but can't afford housing. This isn't happening in some distant country. This is your America right now. What you're seeing is the systematic breakdown of basic living standards across the United States. And the worst part? Most people have no idea how bad it's gotten. Let me give you the numbers that will absolutely shock you. According to the Federal Reserve, 40% of Americans cannot afford a $400 emergency expense without borrowing money or selling something. That's nearly half the country living paycheck to paycheck. But it gets worse. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that while wages have crawled up 4.1% this year, electricity costs have exploded by 23.8%. Yep, electricity up by 23.8%. Gas prices up 15.2%. Food costs up 11.4%. Do the math. Your paycheck goes up 4%, but everything you need to survive goes up 15 to 25%. That's not inflation, that's systematic impoverishment. And this isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. These stats represent real people, real families, real Americans who are falling through the cracks of what used to be called the middle class. Let me show you exactly what this looks like on the ground.
I am homeless, and I live here in my car because while I work 50 to 60 hours every single week, I don't make enough money to afford an apartment, which is now over $1,800 per month on average, and often more than that. And every single day here on social media, people are leaving comments and sending me messages saying that I'm not homeless because I live in my car and I need to stop calling myself homeless. So I looked up the actual definition of homeless, and it is people living in a place not meant for human habitation, such as the streets, cars, or abandoned buildings. And that is the literal definition of homeless. You know, some people live in their cars out of choice, or they want to do hashtag van life. I live in my car because I lost my apartment, and then I was outpriced of the rental market because rent prices tripled over the last 4 years. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a good rest of your day. Bye.
This is America in 2025. We're not talking about people who can't find work. We're talking about employed Americans who cannot afford basic shelter despite having jobs. According to HUD's latest count, 40% of homeless Americans are actually employed. This used to be unthinkable. Now it's becoming the new normal. Let me give you the hard numbers that prove this isn't exaggeration. According to the Federal Reserve's most recent survey of consumer finances, 40% of Americans cannot afford a $400 emergency expense without borrowing money or selling something. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that while wages have increased 4.1% year over year, essential costs have skyrocketed. Electricity prices are up 23.8%, natural gas up 15.2%, and food costs have risen 11.4% nationally. The American Community Survey reveals that 21 million Americans, that's 6.5% of the entire population, are spending more than 50% of their income on housing alone. In major metropolitan areas, this figure jumps to over 30% of residents. The USDA reports that 38 million Americans, including 12 million children, experience food insecurity. These are not abstract statistics. These represent families in every state, every congressional district. Housing costs have reached levels not seen since the Great Depression when adjusted for median income. The National Low-Income Housing Coalition found that nowhere in America can a worker earning federal minimum wage afford a modest two-bedroom rental. Not in rural Mississippi, not in small-town Ohio, nowhere. Here, we have a parent making impossible choices, feeding their children while going hungry themselves.
A few days ago, I did a post about what I'm doing to try to reduce the costs in my home, and I asked people what they were doing, partly because I thought it would help us share ideas with one another. But the amount of comments on that post where people are saying, I feed my children and I don't eat, or I eat every third day, or I'm eating one meal a day, or the bare minimum food is a pretty common trend in that post. While we've been watching this situation going on in Gaza, it's happening closer to home too. There are many people here who are literally that food insecure. And I know the whole platform was, oh, there's so much abuse and SNAP and this and that. There are actually people not eating for days here. And I don't think that's getting enough attention. You know, most of us can't see outside of our own situation. We don't understand what it's like to be in that situation. You know, it's a bother to us to be proposed with people that are homeless. It's a bother to us to hear people complain that I'm hungry.
According to the USDA, 38 million Americans, including 12 million children, experience food insecurity. This represents working families who have jobs but still can't afford to feed everyone in their household. The ripple effects are devastating every aspect of daily life. Utility companies are reporting disconnection rates 40% higher than pre-2020 levels. Food banks across the nation are serving 50% more families than they did 3 years ago, with many reporting that working families now make up the majority of their clients. Food insecurity has reached crisis levels nationwide, and it's not just affecting traditionally vulnerable populations. From the rural communities of Mississippi and Arkansas to the urban centers of Detroit and Baltimore, middle-class families, people with decent jobs, college graduates, they're all struggling to put food on the table. The psychological toll of this crisis cannot be overstated. When you listen to these stories, you hear the desperation, the fear, the complete loss of hope. People are describing anxiety that keeps them awake at night, wondering how they're going to pay next month's bills. This is trauma, economic trauma that's affecting entire communities.
$830.27. Anybody want to guess what that is? You won't guess, so I'm just going to share it with you. That is my electric bill this month. Okay, full disclosure, that is less than last month. Our bill last month was $1,130.98. I'm sorry, it's insane. That is my mortgage payment plus more. Okay, I don't know how anybody is expected to pay that. So, I mean, our house is big. It's not huge. It's not a mansion. It's about 2,500 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 3 baths. We had 5 children. Our bills with our children, all 5 living at home, were between $400 and $700 a month. So we have called the electric company. They've come out. We live beside a restaurant. We were adamant that we were paying the electric company's bill also. I mean, it's ridiculous. Who can afford even $400 a month for electricity, but they expect us to pay $830 or $1,130. So, yeah, I logged in this morning to see what our bill was when it was due, $830.27.
Look at this, an $800 electric bill for a regular family home. 2 years ago, that same house would have had a $200, $300 electric bill. These aren't people running Bitcoin mining operations or heating lavish swimming pools. This is what basic electricity now costs for working families, and is happening nationwide. What makes this even more infuriating is that utility companies are posting record profits, while families are forced to choose between keeping the lights on and buying groceries. The system has become so rigged against ordinary people that basic services are now luxury items.
You know how I know America is struggling? It's been about 14 days since I had one single job. I went a whole year working at least 1 or 2 jobs per day. And now, 14 days, nothing's changed, everything's good, I got good reviews, everything's, I'm a handyman, so do yard work, electrical, all sorts of stuff. 14 days, I have not had one single job. Nothing's changed, everything's good. I'm getting clicks, I'm getting, everything's good. That tells me that Americans are going super broke. They're trying to do things themselves, which is fine, but 14 days, not one single job. The struggle is about to get real, y'all.
This story represents the collapse of the small business economy that used to provide opportunities for working-class Americans across the heartland, from the manufacturing towns of the Rust Belt to the agricultural communities of the Great Plains. Skilled tradespeople who built America's middle class are now finding themselves without a job, without a work, nothing at all. When a skilled handyman with good reviews can't get work for weeks, it tells us something fundamental about the economy spanning from the industrial centers of Pittsburgh and Cleveland to the service economies of Las Vegas and Orlando. We're seeing the emergence of American tent cities, encampments that have become permanent fixtures from the Hollywood Hills to downtown Austin, from the waterfront parks of Seattle to the desert outskirts of Las Vegas. These aren't temporary homeless shelters. These are communities of working people who simply cannot afford housing in America's major metropolitan areas. But here's what really makes this feel like third world conditions: the complete lack of institutional response. In a functioning society where millions of people can't afford basic necessities, there would be emergency programs, policy changes, surely some kind of systematic response. Instead, we're getting told that everything is fine, that the economy is strong, that we should be grateful. The disconnect between what officials are saying and what people are experiencing is staggering. Politicians talk about job growth while people work multiple jobs and still can't survive. They celebrate stock market gains while families are choosing between medicine and food.
I don't know who's out here living the American dream, but I can tell you one person who isn't, and that's me. I have 4 kids and I'm working 3 jobs and I'm still struggling. I have my full-time job, I'm a 911 dispatcher. My other 2 jobs, a waitress. The American dream should not be this hard. I should not have to be working my life away, being away from my kids. Sometimes I have to pick. Am I going to pay my electric bill or am I going to buy groceries? Because my kids need to eat. This is not the American dream. I'm so tired of struggling. So many people are going to work, working multiple jobs just to pay for a house to sleep in, just to put their head down at night. This is not the American dream, not my American dream. That's why I started posting here on TikTok. So hopefully I can slow down some so I can spend time with my kids. Life shouldn't be this hard. I know one person that's making 6 figures and they're still struggling. Why's it gotta be so hard?
This represents a broader trend we're seeing. Strategic defaults on debt because people literally can't afford to pay everything. When someone makes the conscious decision to stop paying credit cards or stop paying medical bills because they need that money for food and shelter, we've crossed into survival mode economics. What's particularly telling is that creditors are not aggressively pursuing collections right now. Why? Because they know millions of people simply don't have the money. You can't get blood from a stone, and the stone represents a huge portion of the American population. The healthcare crisis compounds everything else. Families from rural Tennessee to suburban Phoenix are choosing between life-saving medications and mortgage payments. Medical bankruptcy has become commonplace across America's heartland, destroying families who thought they were financially secure. The comparison to third world conditions isn't meant to minimize the struggles of people in developing countries. It's meant to highlight how far American living standards have fallen. When working people in America are living in conditions that previous generations would have considered impossible in this country, we need to acknowledge that something has gone fundamentally wrong. The most tragic part is how normalized this has become. We're treating economic desperation as the new normal, instead of recognizing it as a crisis that demands immediate attention. People are sharing tips on which bills you can skip without immediate consequences, as if strategic poverty management should be a life skill in modern-day America.
$6.15 for a half a pound of Greek hot sweet peppers. What the hell? Is this what you voted for? The highest fucking food cost I've ever seen in my entire life? $9 for some damn pizza sauce. $10 for a small pack of Starbucks coffee. Oh my god. Got a dang sweet treat for the dog. $20. Sweet treat for the dog. Sorry, $20. I guess you're gonna have to just find me fucking stinking, cause look at that. Clearance, $8.39. I'm telling you right now, we're gonna be paying $100,000 for a loaf of bread before this administration is over. The same administration that told us that on day one energy prices would come down, that the war in the Ukraine would be over, that the price of gas, food, and it's all gonna be a miracle. And if you go on their Instagram page right now, they're telling you it is a miracle. Only we can see. Our wallets know.
When a week's worth of groceries costs more than many people's car payments, we've created conditions where proper nutrition becomes a privilege of the wealthy. The long-term implications are absolutely terrifying. Children growing up in food-insecure households face severe developmental challenges that will affect them for life. Adults skipping medical care because they can't afford it will create a health crisis that will burden the entire system. The stress and trauma of economic insecurity is literally shortening people's lives. Yet somehow we're told this is just temporary inflation, just market adjustments, just the natural business cycle. That's not what this is. This is the systematic impoverishment of the American working class, and it's happening by design. The solution isn't individual bootstrapping or side hustles. The solution requires acknowledging that we've created an economic system that serves wealth while abandoning the people who actually do the work. Until we're willing to have that conversation honestly, millions of Americans will continue living in conditions that would have been unthinkable just a generation ago. The American dream didn't just die. It was murdered by policies that prioritized profit over people, shareholders over communities, and wealth accumulation over basic human dignity. What we're witnessing now are the consequences, and they're playing out in the lives of our neighbors, our co-workers, and our families. This isn't the America that previous generations built, and it doesn't have to be the America we leave to the next generation. But first, we have to stop pretending that everything is fine and start acknowledging the depth of the crisis we are all facing. Because when millions of Americans are living in third world conditions in the world's wealthiest nation, that's not just an economic problem. That's a moral crisis that demands our immediate attention and immediate action. Let me know in the comments what you're seeing in your area. Share your experiences. Support each other. Let's start having the honest conversations about what's really happening in America right now.